during the Dark Ages, what people call the Dark Ages in Europe, there was a feeling that people existed simply to serve those who ruled over them, right? If you were a peasant, you existed to serve the person who owned the land. Commoners existed to serve the king, and that was it. You served your quote-unquote natural superiors, right? That's what human existence was defined by. But what defined the Renaissance and what really brought us, the modern world, was there was a shift in thinking. In Italy, in Britain with the Tudor monarchy, and elsewhere, there started to be a feeling that the government had an obligation to improve the lives of the population. That it wasn't just a one-way relationship. The people didn't exist simply to serve the rulers. The rulers had an obligation to the people. And that's like a new shift that you saw. And based on that, you saw the creation of the first public education created by the Tudor monarchy. You saw, Italian leaders starting to promote like Leonardo da Vinci. And you saw the funding of scientific research for the first time. And that was all based on this new breakthrough in understanding that the government has an obligation to rule in a way that is to the benefit of the population. And what that's called, the actual technical term for that style of thinking that emerged in the Renaissance, is called statecraft. That's statecraft. I know it sounds, when I say it, some people, they just get this authoritarian chill. They're like, oh my God, statecraft. No, statecraft is the idea that the government should rule in a way that benefits you. That your existence, it's not just that you should serve the government, but the government should serve you. And ultimately, statecraft led to the scientific breakthroughs that eventually led to the overthrow of feudalism, the concept of democracy, right? Government of the people, the Republican form of government. All of that emerged from that breakthrough. And the weirdest thing is that in Western capitalism, we've gotten away from the concept of statecraft. We've gotten to the point that we want leaders who lead by, making us feel good about ourselves, by putting down their opponents, by holding off. They say, oh, if the other guy wins, the world will burst into flames and we'll all go to death camps and it'll be the end of the world. Oh my God. So we vote for people that are going to hold off the apocalypse. But in Russia, I've seen it myself. In China, in a lot of countries around the world, statecraft is reemerging. And it's this idea that our political leaders, they don't have to be our friends, right? If I was really sick, say I had a tumor, and I needed someone to cut the tumor out of me, I was picking a doctor. Would I pick a doctor? I'd be like, okay, this doctor. Now, do you have a cute dog? Is your dog really, really cute? Would I want to go hang out with you and have a beer? And you're not a nerd, are you? You're not a nerd, right? You don't stay up all night reading books about medical stuff, right? Are you just a cool guy that I would like? Are you going to be Mr. Pop? That's not what I would want in a doctor, right? I wouldn't want a doctor who was a cool guy who had a cute dog. I would want a doctor who was a fanatical doctor. I would want a doctor that was totally all about getting that tumor out of me. I'd want him to have straight A's from medical school. I would want to have the best doctor I could have, and I wouldn't care if he was, the coolest guy and was hip and had a cute dog and his family. I would care about how damn good he was at being a doctor, how good he was at getting the job done, right? And that used to be the attitude that people had about governments, right? That governments were based on how well they could get the job done, right? It wasn't whether you liked them or not. It wasn't whether they were cool guys and hip, and that wasn't what it was about. Statecraft was a science, A guy is a good doctor, he gets the job done as a doctor. A guy is a good basket weaver, he weaves really good baskets. Well, statecraft was the idea that someone is a good leader of the government if the standard of living of the population increases, life gets better, and people see more happiness in their lives. That's what statecraft was about. President Xi Jinping is a brilliant statesman or a statesperson. He is living out and carrying out statecraft in the 21st century. And if you read The Governance of China, you are reading someone who has studied the science of statecraft. Not just, he's an expert on Marxism. There's a whole section on Marxism and socialism with Chinese characteristics and Mao and all these very, very important, breakthroughs of Chinese communism. But he also talks about Confucianism. He talks about the One Belt, One Road initiative. He talks about the need for sustainable development and ecology and the danger of global warming. You read The Governance of China. This is an expert statesman. This is somebody who has studied in universities who's spent his whole life being vetted by the Chinese Communist Party. He's brilliant. In China, they call him the big boss. And when you read The Governance of China, the book he put out, you are reading the brilliance of a statesman who knows what he is doing and has been delivering very effectively. He took office because people were upset about corruption. People in China didn't want corruption. He has led a massive clampdown on corruption, cleaning up the Chinese Communist Party, creating a better environment for the private sector to do business where they feel like the government is honest, raising the standard of living. I mean, President Xi is an expert statesman, and we have completely gotten away from the concept of statecraft in the Western world. We've gotten to a kind of a vulgar democracy where, it's a dog and pony show to get people elected, and at the end of the day, the big corporations rule, and the life of the population, the standard of living goes down. Statecraft is alive and well in China, and that's what you get from President Xi's writing.